Yo guys, I don't even know where to start with this one because there's just so many things going on in my head right now because this is absolutely insane. This might be one of the best One Piece chapters ever, depending on what happens next, because there is a lot of questions to be said here, but regardless of that, this is hype. We don't know what is happening to Luffy right now. Is it Devil Fruit Awakening? Has Joy Boy somehow taken over Luffy's body, or is this the inherited will playing a bigger part here? It's most likely all of the latter, but we need more information from the next coming chapters. But oh my god, this is absolutely insane. I know I've said that twice now. Like, I am excited to see what comes next. Again, when it comes to power-ups like this, the last major power-up we had was Gear 4th. That was one of those chapters where those 2 weeks before the chapter came out was like hell. And Oda seems to be playing the same game here because we know that there's a break after this chapter, and you know when that happens that the next chapter is going to be absolutely bonkers. But as usual guys, I'd appreciate it if you dropped a like on this video. Let's go for 1,000 likes. Hit the bell if you want to get notified for future content, and subscribe if you're new here. But again, let's start from the beginning. So coming off of the previous chapter, we come to see that Luffy actually gets defeated here, and we get a title box saying that Luffy is defeated, that Kaido did win the battle. And again, when we have these title bucks, it's almost like a guaranteed thing. There is no exception, except maybe when it comes to Luffy. But again, Luffy getting defeated here was the assumption that I guess most people in the community had. Some people thought that he might not be defeated because we didn't see it in the previous chapter, but I think it was very obvious that this was going to be the case, especially considering that Luffy was essentially out of haki after that final blow. And something else we did also expect is the decimation of the CP0 agent. Now again, we don't know what happens to this guy. All we know is that Kaido attacks him at the end there, and we get to see this huge explosion on top of Onigashima. Now, judging by his demeanor after what he just did, it's almost like he accepted his fate, and he essentially knew that he was going to die here or get defeated. I'm not sure which of those happened because it was off screen, but he should be out of commission. Whether he's dead or not, we don't know. But Oda does make it seem like he could be dead based on the reaction of the other CP0 agent. And this particular CP0 agent had a reaction almost as if one of his comrades had just died in battle or something, because he makes somewhat of a gesture there, perhaps saying farewell. But it makes you wonder though, where exactly was this CP0 agent the whole time? Could this guy be the true leader of CP0 given that he's the last one to be alive? Possibly, but it seems like he may have a role to play moving forward, as he is the last CP0 agent that we know is active. Now, one thing I've got to say about this chapter is that there was definitely an air of tension because the Alliance had just lost one of its major powerhouses and the key battle had just been lost. And so you could see the desperation on the part of the Alliance. For the Alliance, it must have felt like hell as Kaido came back down, conveying the message that Luffy was dead. Of course, the Straw Hats were in complete denial because Luffy never loses, but this was made very convincing because several people had made a comment about Luffy's voice completely disappearing. Momonosuke noticed it, and Law as well, as this essentially means that Luffy's will is completely gone. Law and Kid were more level-headed in reaction to the news and accepted the reality that came upon them, even though it sucked. Marco, on the other hand, told them not to give up until everything is over, and I think the Alliance for the most part was still willing to fight, even though Kaido said that Luffy was dead, and thus this led Kaido to try and break their spirits even more. And he does this by telling them their fate if they do not submit, as he would essentially make them become slaves. But of course, the battle isn't over until Momonosuke surrenders. So Kaido's goal is to getting to Momonosuke, as that would be the deciding factor to break the spirit of the Alliance. Law and Kid become targets now, as they are the next bigger threats apart from Luffy, and of course these guys being the top 3 supernovas, submission is completely out of question, and so fighting back with whatever strength they have left is their only option. Next we come to a scene with Momonosuke and Yamato, and of course after seeing Luffy's voice disappear, this brought a lot of desperation into the mind of Momonosuke, as he believes that the best option right now is to submit to Kaido and not sacrifice any more lives. Yamato on the other hand says she cannot let this happen, that yielding here is essentially the same as dying, as they would essentially become slaves for the rest of their lives, suffering till they die, and that this is a do or die situation and there is no in between. And it makes a lot of sense because this is a battle that has been in the making for 20 plus years. You can't really just submit because things are falling apart. You have to accept what comes. And Yamato was like, even if your only choice was to submit, she would rather die together with Momonosuke. So again, you can see how desperate things has become ever since Luffy was defeated. People are second guessing themselves now, and of course for Momonosuke this makes a lot of sense because he's a child. But we see that Yamato Yamato is acting as a pillar for Momo. Again, I did like the tension that we got here, the Alliance second guessing themselves, seeing how Kid and Law reacted, that was dope, and finally the conflict that we're seeing with Yamato and Momonosuke, it was great. Now we come to the end of the chapter and Zunisha calls out to Momonosuke, in which Zunisha is able to hear the drums of liberation for the first time in 800 years, and that there is no doubt that this individual is here. That individual known as Joy Boy has made his return. And then we get to see Luffy sort of turning into goo, or like a gooey like substance. Now the first assumption to make here is that this is Devil Fruit Awakening, but then you also have Joy Boy being referenced here as well. In other words, this could be confirmation that Joy Boy had the same devil fruit that Luffy has, and perhaps what we're seeing here is Joy Boy manifesting his will through Luffy, if that makes any sense. Now again, we don't know for certain because we don't exactly know what's happening to Luffy, and we do see that Luffy is smiling here, which is a bit unusual considering the predicament that he's in, right? I wouldn't think Luffy would be smiling in this situation. Now it might just be that Luffy has realized that he's gained a new power and he's confident in using it. I find Luffy grinning here to be very weird. And talking about the grin, we do also find out that the kanji is written out as Nika, which again we know is the sun god, and again this could be confirmation that Nika is Joy Boy, or at least that's one of his other titles, or at the very least it's correlated, right? So Joy Boy and Nika might be the same person. Now we have to remember that Luffy's haki essentially ran out here. Several individuals had mentioned this, that his voice had completely disappeared, and so another possibility of what could be happening here is that maybe through his devil fruit, Joy Boy has sort of taken over Luffy's body because Luffy's spirit is depleted, right? Because Luffy has no spirit, he's not able to defend himself from the devil within his devil fruit ability, if that makes any sense. So it could be some sort of possession that's happening here. We don't know for certain, and it could relate to the unconscious haki where Luffy is able to use Conqueror's haki when he's unconscious. We do also have that scene when he was underwater conveying that he was going to beat Kaido even though he was unconscious. And again, this is something that Luffy most likely isn't aware of, at least not that we know of anyways. Again, we just need more information because this one panel that we have is the only thing that we can really go off of right now, and it's very vague. But a lot of things are alluding to this individual being Joy Boy and not Luffy. This is a separate entity that's in Luffy's body right now. And again, we did get a title box confirming that Kaido won against Luffy, and usually when we have those title box, it means what it means. So maybe this is another individual here. Now I think the most likely thing to think is that this is Luffy's awakening, right? And maybe what we're seeing here is Luffy turning or becoming malleable, kind of like a Logia type. I think this has been a theory that's been out for quite some time now, because we do know that rubber is a substance that can warp into any shape and form, but with Luffy we know that he couldn't do that, right? And that his limits were essentially stuck on elasticity. Elasticity was the only attribute that he could get from his ability, but with awakening we could see him become more malleable and Logia like, where he can change his form into any shape, because here we get to see that his face is warping essentially. So it seems that his awakening is not the environmental based one that we've seen throughout the course of the story so far, but an upgrade to his ability itself. So this is a massive upgrade if this is what it is, because now his creativity level is just on a whole different level as to what he can do with his fruit now. Now again, the whole Joy Boy thing has been foreshadowed for a very long time, so this isn't out of the blue, right? But I think how a lot of people envision it is that Luffy was following in the steps of Joy Boy, but it seems like this is more than just following in the steps. It seems that Luffy and Joy Boy are literally the same person, and it definitely brings the question of free will into account here, because we know that Luffy's dream is to become the freest person in the sea, which is what the Pirate King title means to him. And so him getting possessed here definitely creates a conflict. Is this something Luffy actually wants, is the question? Does he want everything that he's worked so hard for be in the name of some individual from 800 years ago? You know, it definitely raises a lot of questions, and I think Oda will address this in the future. It might not necessarily be in this arc, but this is something that I think Oda will address, because freedom is a huge thing in One Piece. It's one of the core themes of the story. But again, this is obviously a power up for Luffy. We need more context as as to what is happening with Luffy, because on one part it seems like this is awakening, on the other part it seems like it's related to Joy Boy. So which is it? But there is definitely some connection to the Gomu Gomu no Mi and Joy Boy. Maybe this is Joy Boy's devil fruit back when he was alive, and somehow he's able to manifest his will via the fruit. And you know what makes this even more crazier? This makes Shanks even more sketchier than ever. The fact that he was with this fruit definitely raises suspicion. Now, I don't think Shanks is evil per se, but ever since he met up with the Gorosei, it's been different ever since then. His motives is definitely being questioned right now. So again, this is exciting. I honestly don't know what's going to happen next, but the hype is unreal at this point, guys. Again, a video will be dropping tomorrow about this, because I have some ideas that I do want to put out there, because there's massive implications to a lot of things that we got in this chapter here. Even by that one panel we got with Luffy there, you can get a lot from that one panel. But that is pretty much it for this video, guys. I'd appreciate it if you dropped a like on this video, comment down below what you guys think, hit the bell if you want to get notified for future content, and subscribe for more One Piece on this channel. You can follow me on Twitter at FerroSpace, but it is Ferro, guys, and I will see you folks later. Peace.